All right. And action, Enzo. Enzo, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you, my man. And yeah, really excited to hear what you're going to say here. And I'm sure there's going to be someone out there, perhaps a budding entrepreneur, that will really appreciate, your perspective of what it was like to do this course here. I know essentially I was a stranger to you, from across the world. But here you are, some months later here, and yeah, really excited to hear what you have to say. So, Enzo, first question, no surprises here. Ready? What brought you my way? What brought you my way as far as being interested in the program?
Yeah, so I originally, uh, got in touch just because, pretty straightforward, had a very heavy breakup,
Hmm?
and I was just really, really stuck. And the problem is with me specifically, I had years before that, I had another breakup, and that one kept me in a very, very bad spot for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, not this time, I need to I
Right,
need to
right.
find a way to deal with it better.
Fuck this. We gotta
Yeah,
change
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm?
yeah. And for some reason, I think I was on your mailing list because maybe I researched you earlier on and so on and so forth. And I got an email. I don't know, there was a subject line that really, made me say, okay, enough, it's enough. So I just contacted you.
Was that the
And
subject? Because I want to blast that email today. Was it enough is enough?
I honestly can't remember. Maybe it was Let Her Go or something. I don't really know. I'm not, but maybe it's
Maybe the one let them go, move the fuck on. I have one like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna,
So
I'm gonna
something.
blast that one 10 days straight.
But yeah, I read that and I was like, oh yeah, no, I when I was curious and I just got in touch and then I joined you. But yeah, basically that's it. I was just in a very bad spot, and knowing from my previous experience, I didn't have, let's say, the skills, so to say, to go through it. I didn't want to go through it the same way I
Yeah.
did years
No,
before.
I,
Yeah.
I, I, I hear you on that, man. I always tell people, I don't care what your situation is. Our details might be different. I know exactly what it's like to be stuck for fucking years,
Yeah.
years. And it's terrible. And then when you go through that multiple times, it's like, fuck this. I got to figure out, there's got to be a better way to do this here. I think, I'm sure I told you at some point here. I mean, I've probably been coached by more real deal people than anyone you'll ever meet. But in the beginning, I was just trying to fix myself. I was so tired and just drained of that cycle. I mean, being stuck for years just seems so just unnatural and unfair. But yeah, I know very well what it's like. So yeah, so yeah, we got started. We actually, it was interesting about you, Enzo, if I remember properly, you actually started with a self-study. I believe you started with that, and then
Um,
you upgraded later. I think you
I
started with a
think so. I
self-study
think
again. I
so.
think that's what you did, or you did
Yeah,
the
I think
yeah.
so.
So
Yeah.
so you got your feet wet a little bit. You got a taste, and you clearly had the right attitude. So we got going with the full thing here. Um, so once we got started, Enzo, like how would you describe like maybe the first few weeks? What was it like working with me? What was your first initial impressions of the process as you got started? Whatever part of that you want to answer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the main thing, honestly, that hit me right away was the process itself that you teach. I remember very early, maybe first few days, I had this feeling like, wow, I never even knew I can inspire myself that way. I can
Yeah.
make myself feel better that way, or let's say modulate the way I feel, or bring myself to a
Hmm.
higher state, and so on and so forth. And so I had some very strong euphoric moments.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember I was in my car saying some of the things you teach,
Shh,
and I
don't
was
don't don't say
laughing.
them. Don't say them out loud, Enzo.
and I was laughing, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, and it's all, even, I mean, right now, yes, I still go through the process on, but if I say one of those things is, of course, it has still its strengths when I do the practice, but if I say during the day, it's not as strong like it has been like that first moment, because the thing is, I had that much contrast with feeling terrible for so long. So
Yeah.
like literally I had I had this shock moment from doing that. I was like, wow, I can actually feel good feelings, you know.
Yeah.
It was like a shock to me. Um, so that's the first thing I remember, and that really impressed me, so to say, yeah. And then from there on, yeah, just working with you, you know, like the of course the amount of support, being able to always ask, you know, anything
Mhm.
maybe I was encountering in the process. Um, that was really useful, of course, yeah. And I mean, the idea is like not only you give a process, but then you also help gain clarity on how to use the process, how to make it
Mhm.
work for ourselves, and so on and so forth. So that I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, I've been in coaching for years now, but I told, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, like originally, I mean, I was my number one client. Like I was just so tired of being stuck for years over just individuals that really were just not worth it. I was like, it made no sense at all. And then I remember for myself, I mean, I was working as a dating coach for, some years, you know, yeah, about maybe like about 15, or more years ago. But the first person that really gave me a true glimpse that there was a real way to control your state, he didn't teach me actually how to do it, but the experience of the event was enough to really be like, oh my God, this really doesn't have to be like I can really change this in a real way. Probably the real, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the real grandfather of life coaching, which is Tony Robbins. Now, granted, I only did this is in UPW. He didn't actually teach the process, right? So, and I'm sure he has some whatever tools or whatever, but anyway, that was the first glimpse. There was something better. And then the whole mission was, how can I make this repeatable? And then that really just ultimately at the end of the day, what I teach is my own process, which is a compilation of the best in the world in a very repeatable, practical way. I have a guy right now who's in Australia. He's interesting. He told me the first few days he started doing. He's like this is a like this I think I just wasted, some money. I think I wasted $1,000. But I always tell people, look. In the end of the day, it's not a fucking magic trick. No birds chirping fire over the fucking head. There's no, there's not gonna be like a unicorn next room. It's a fucking workout, and you have to give it a little
Yeah,
time to kind of get rooted a little bit. And then now, I mean, I'd called him. Now he's been doing it for about 3 or 4 weeks. And he's like, I mean, he's fucking all in now. It's really great to listen to him. But it's interesting to listen to the transition from the beginning to like where he's at right now, where it's like that it's just totally connected for him. Like this is gonna fucking work. But I have a lot of people when they do the program, and I mean you were easy compared to some people I work with, Enzo. But I have people in the program that are like in real lows, and when they start the program, it really is for them like really their last hoorah, their last effort. And I've had people that like they'll tell me like when they graduate, I knew they were in a dark place, but I didn't realize how dark it really was, and it really was like their last, you know. Um, last anything. Like I had people I had several people last year told me like I had one woman told me particularly she actually had a plan to take her life and she's like this is it, like I'm gonna try this and it doesn't work. I'm gonna hit the exit button. Those are not her words. But for some people, it's a leap of faith. For other people, like they have a foundation like you did, but no matter what it is, it's like it's a true desire to like, you know what? I don't want to be at the mercy of my external world. And for anyone listening here, there is something called the science of neuroplasticity. It's not a fucking theory; it's a science. And at the end of the day, I'm teaching a practical process to make a true touch, taste, and feel experience. Some people move faster, some people move slower, but everyone moves as long as they stick with it. And it's not fucking exciting. I mean, it is fun once you get into it. But in the beginning, it's not exciting per se. It's a workout. I mean, what the fuck do you want? You're gonna clock your time doing something that is a process. But I always tell people, and so anything in life worth accomplishing requires the right process, the right consistency, and of course, a little patience. So that's why I give people a little bit more support in the beginning, particularly because I'm like, I know it takes a little extra something to kind of cross that threshold, like a rocket ship, right? Most of the fuel's in the takeoff, but once a rocket ship gets going, it gets going. So awesome. Yes, you got some momentum. Now, this is important for everyone listening here. You did have look, it's not a straightforward path to the top, right? There's like ups and downs along the way. You did have some challenge. Enzo, you still there?
yeah,
Yeah, you still, I'm outside here, so I'll make sure the connection's still good. But yeah, you did have some ups and downs along the way, right? And of course, I'm sure you appreciate. I was really engaged, kind of like help. I understand that's part of these cycles of challenges to kind of help you through them. So I could kind of coach you through it, so you understood that it's part of the process. I mean, when I say people in the very beginning, the hard days, and remember this, Enzo. for the rest of your life, the hard days will always be the best days if you stick with it. The hard days will always be the workout to the next level if you're willing to see it through. That's the way it's always going to be. Even right now, as I'm talking, Enzo, I've had one of my most challenging weeks I've had in a while. I'm in my own like little storm here, and I've never posted myself to be something not here. I'm a human being just like you. I don't live in a fucking monastery or forest somewhere, even though it might appear like it right now. I live in the real world, so we all have challenges. So I have my workouts just like you. But the only advantage I had over you at that time really was like I've been through enough of those cycles of challenges or workouts to understand like, hey, stick it through. Let me kind of stick it through, and you'll get rewarded on the other end. So for anyone listening here, we did have some ups and downs throughout the way, but higher highs, like I told you, it'd be higher highs and higher lows. But
Yeah.
overall, the trend is like this. So that's really what it is. So let me ask you this, Enzo. I got two last questions for you here. At what point did you realize? At what point did you realize like this is fucking gonna work? Like I just have to stick it through. This is the solution here. How long did it take? Would you say where you're like you fully had full buy-in?
Hmm. I think very quickly, honestly. I think I remember I it's either during the first month, like something like that. Anyways, it was very quick. I mean, I realized it was really, really powerful very soon, like in a few days, as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I kept practicing, I saw I think maybe even the first couple weeks, or like something like that, like how much it was changing the way I felt. And as a result, the way my life like started to adjust also. Yeah, like I started to maybe have better interactions with people around me. I wasn't maybe, because when you're in a bad state, you talk to people, um, like maybe you get into a little mini fight with someone, or like just because you start with a bad state, or maybe even
Yeah.
like business wise, maybe I didn't want to take some decisions because myself, I was in a bad spot, like mentally and so on. So I saw that, let's say, going through the process helped me not only feel better with the breakup itself, but also with all the rest that I had in
Mm-hmm.
my life. So I think it was pretty quick. Couple like first couple of weeks, like I saw like it was really, really helping me. And
Mm-hmm.
then to the point where I said I'm out of it completely, like out of the breakup and so on and so forth. Uh, I I I think maybe couple months maybe to say like really I was like I'm not even thinking about the breakup anymore.
Good.
and
Fuck
and it was
that.
yeah. and
Yeah.
and we were like I remember because then I would maybe join a call or something and I would ask you a question that had nothing to do
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Yeah.
with the breakup anymore, and you were like, oh well, wow, you're not even asking about it anymore. I was
Yeah.
asking completely different things because anyways I was over it already because of the process basically.
Mhm. Yeah, I love when people start asking questions that have nothing to do with why they signed up in the first place. That's sort of like it's nice where the light bulb goes up. It's like, oh my God, this is not just for relationships, love, health, wealth across the board. I mean, really overarching, cascading impacts on everything. So it's really cool. Like when there's that moment of like, oh, that's interesting. I guess we're going into
Yeah.
bonus territory now. So yeah, that's wonderful. Um, so you've noticed impacts with your business, the way you operate things.
Yeah, as well. So it's not just the way I operate things, but the way I actually manage myself.
Mhm.
So for example, the ability to maybe still be organized and do what I need to do, even if maybe, I'm not feeling best I can that specific day, or like just
Yeah.
having this ability to bring yourself back to a powerful state
Mhm.
to then do whatever I have to do and so on and so forth. And then of course also um like enhancing the way I feel and feeling better, then people also notice it.
Yeah.
Maybe, if you're working in sales, if you have a business, if you talk to people and so on and so forth, of course, it's like an upward spiral, let's say. Yeah, that's the idea. And the thing is, the big thing I wanted to say is that I got from this is I now I don't fear, and I had also I mentioned this to you. You know, I had a problem like with chronic pain for a long time, like before all this thing happened. Like I had a huge problem like with chronic pain and for years and so on and so forth. So now it's much better. I learned that, you know, do all the things I need to do, relaxation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is, and that's so it's very related to stress and like maybe my perception of how things happen in the world and in my world and so on and so forth, the fear that maybe something could happen and so on and so forth. So what I'm getting to is with your process, I feel like I don't fear almost anything anymore. So it's like because I
There you go.
know, yeah, because it took me a
You hear that,
while
everyone? Become
yeah.
fear. It's the become fearless, not just really. I mean, yeah, no, this is great. No, this is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
So the idea is I feel like I have a way always to bring myself back, whatever happens,
Yeah,
which I didn't have before, you know. And the thing is like, for example, I've been very afraid, maybe like to, you know, for a while to get into new relationships, to meet new people, to do that. Because I mean, if you know, you have one relationship and then you're stuck for 2 years, like feeling
yeah,
terrible afterwards, you know, then you don't want to do it again, you know, like what if
yeah,
this happens? I waste 2 years of my life again. But now with your process, for example, I know that, yeah, okay, it will feel bad. It's not like it's gonna feel good to break up. Yeah, for sure.
sure.
I might feel very bad, maybe even for a couple of weeks to a month or something like that. But I know it's really very hard that it goes beyond that if I do
Yeah,
what you taught me, as opposed to 2 years
yeah,
before.
much better alternative.
It's a big win, you know. Of course, oh, it will always feel bad, you know. You're losing somebody that you know you were very close with, and so on. But the confidence that I have now in knowing that I can bring myself back, it's a huge, it's a very big thing in my life. Like the confidence that I can say work out my emotions, you
Yeah.
know, and bring myself back to a good place. It's something I didn't have before, and I do believe it's something that should be taught in schools.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I think your process is really great in that sense. I think everyone should know it in the sense that it's something we are not taught, but it's so fundamental. As I go
Yeah.
back and think, how many things could I have, say, prevented or spared myself if I knew this since I was, I don't know, 10 years old or something like that.
These are very
You
good
know,
questions.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the idea. That's why again, yeah, probably like the people watching this, you know, they are in a breakup, feeling terrible about the breakup and so on and so forth. But then once you learn the process and go through the process and learn the stuff that you need to learn in terms of emotional resiliency and emotional, I don't know, I would call maybe management. I don't know how you want to
That
call it,
works.
but
I'll take that.
yeah, yeah.
Emotional management.
But
Yeah.
anyways, like once you learn all those things, you will not even pardon the French, you'll not even give a fuck about the breakup anymore. It's like you're just gonna be at a much higher level of your life in general, where you're finally back at the driver's seat, let's say. That's how it felt for me.
It sounds. I mean, this really sounds crazy to most people, but I mean, I'm just saying it just because we're talking about this here. But yeah, Enzo, I'm absolutely. I mean, I'm absolutely confident that someone with with what you've done at this point here, you'd be pretty amazed. I mean, I hope you never go through this. I hope you never go through. I hope the next one is the right one.
Yeah, yeah.
If you ever had to go through that again, or any of us here, any kind of thing like that, maybe a challenging 3 or 4 days, to some degree. But it's amazing how it just almost does dissipates super, super
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
and 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 and, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with that and don't like the idea of that because they think it takes away some kind of, the humanity, right? Like, oh, you're callous, you're cold, like you should. But think about it. Think about it. And this is great for everyone listening here. Listen, again, so let's be straightforward with each other as well as with anyone on planet Earth, right? Like probably the most challenging experience from an emotional perspective that anyone would ever um experience is the loss of a loved one, right?
yeah,
Now, we're adults here, right? We know that everyone passes on at some point. I am, you are, everyone does, right? But if someone really loves you, I don't know about you, I'll come from this vantage point. When I pass on, I don't want people to fucking suffer. I don't want people fucking. I mean, I tell my wife all the time, like, I want you to fucking live life and enjoy yourself. Like, I'm gonna look up from above and fucking cheer you on. Like, if there's a way for you to feel fucking great by the end of the day, great, let's do that. Or even, I want people celebrating, not mourning. Understand? There's a big distinction there. But if you agree that anybody that passes on that loves you would never want you to suffer, then why do we encourage that? Again, this should be taught in schools. Like, why, if there's a much better way to get back out there and enjoy yourself, what's the
Yeah.
humanity in suffering? We're meant to be these fucking resilient creatures, right? We're not meant to be in fucking stuck land for the next 2, 3 years. That's ridiculous. So to some people, when they first hear what you're saying or what I'm saying here, it's like, oh, that's not right. Like you should go through a grieving process. Like that's cold. Like fuck that. That's dumb.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fucking straight. That's straight up dumb. Because if there's a way to get past something with a loved one who wants you to enjoy yourself, they want you to enjoy yourself. So why would we want it? Why would we want to go to grieving for the next 10 fucking years? That's
Yeah.
retarded.
For
So
sure.
like
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
bottom line is to some people it sounds like a little weird and foreign and callous or cold or whatever, but yeah, it really wouldn't be more than a few
Yeah.
days.
No, for
And that's
sure.
the
For
way
sure.
that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And when I say 2 weeks to a month, maybe for the next big huge breakup, it's just to keep myself conservative, so to say.
That's
Because
that's
I
su that's super conser that's
yeah,
super
yeah, yeah, yeah,
conservative.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
But it's just because I haven't done it yet. Yeah, I don't
Sure,
know
sure,
yet
yeah.
the next one.
You'll
And I
be
hope
you'll
I,
be
I hope I'll never
I
have
hope
it.
that
But
doesn't happen. I
I
don't
know
think it's
it
going
can
to.
happen.
I think some big
But
things
yeah,
are waiting you.
but the
Yeah,
point is, for example, I had other I met some other women in the meanwhile. I didn't have full on relationships, let's say. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's not maybe a true breakup, but I did have some other ones since then. And and sometimes it didn't end well, and maybe I was already a little bit involved. And honestly, it's as you say, like few days, and I was
yeah,
already like back to normal. So yeah, just saying super conservative when I say the
yeah,
breakup thing, but I've actually already experienced something similar in a couple cases where I had to bring myself back, and it's like
yeah,
just not back to reality.
yeah. I mean, I'll just remind you, just so you remember this for the rest of your life here. But I'll just remind you, like, again, I went through my own challenges, and so I had my own fucking periods of like years of just that kind of stuff. And as part of my mission to really just like I don't want to make sure this never happens again here. I was involved with somebody, at this point, met, some years ago. Let's just say a little bit less than 10 years ago, before I met my wife, before, than with right now. And that person that I was with, um, just blew away anyone I was with previously. The women that I was stuck with for years, this woman was
Yeah,
so beyond them. I mean, it's amazing. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Beauty, smarts, brains, everything across the board, just massive, massive upgrade. And then she broke it off with me. I'm not kidding. The first day was a little challenging, not bad, challenging. Second day was a little challenging as well, not bad, challenging. Still got a great day or powerful day at the least. Got all my stuff done. I mean, I spoke to a woman later on that day, a friend of mine, and I told the end of the conversation, like, hey, I want to tell one person here. I'm not asking for any feedback. I don't want any advices. I just want to tell one person. And she's like, oh my God, I would never have known if you didn't tell me what that happened to you earlier. I'm like, yeah, I just want to tell one person. And I went around to other subjects. But the day after that, Enzo, literally less than 72 hours, one of the best days I've ever had. It was amazing. I'm like, oh my God, this is the fucking, it's the way to live life. And it wasn't like I wasn't fully trying to make the relationship work, really trying to kind of open heart, kind of like, hey, let's whatever. But it's
yeah,
like the strength was there. And that to experience that was just a true godsend. And that's why I'm so passionate about this now. It's like, I mean, it really was less than 3 days. But
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
that
for
but that's
sure. I
that's
can imagine.
we're supposed to be that way. We're supposed to be
Yeah,
resilient, joyful beings that are not stuck or at the mercy of the external world. That's the way we're supposed to be. So why not step up? I mean, just like our, I mentioned Tony Robbins before. Tony Robbins has a great phrase. He says, "An acorn is not a tree, but yet it is. But for that acorn to be activated, it does have to get activated. For that acorn to become a big, strong oak tree, it has to get activated by the sun, by the soil, by the grace of God. The oak tree is the fully activated version of that little acorn. We're meant to be this activated version of ourselves, but most people have never learned that process to truly invoke what is biologically available. And that's the fucking problem. But you got that here. So yeah, you can tell yourself 2 weeks to a month, but it's gonna be a lot shorter than that. As long as you
Yeah,
get what I put in front
for
of you,
sure.
that's the rub.
I think what makes the difference is your decision,
Yep.
to for it to be over. Like I think it can take longer only if you don't make a clear decision that it's over, and then you try to go back and forth and so on and so forth. That's when it can take a little longer, just because you're still in it. Yeah, in part. But if you make a decision that okay, it's over, there's nothing for me there anymore, and then you just go through the process, yeah, for sure, like a few days and it's done.
This is the decision you'll remember for the rest of your life. I'm not gonna go too far into details here, because I'm not gonna spill any beans here. But how many jobs do you have, Enzo?
Yeah, just one.
That's right. You'll never forget that one fucking job. And as soon as you reconnect back to that and you do it with the techniques I taught you, it's just it's a true emotional reset. It's like my job ain't to fucking save the world, or like, it's like I know my one job fucking is. So you just anchor right back in there, and that emotional muscle, that resilience, you just takes back fucking hold, and you'll
Thousand
be fine
percent.
pretty quickly. But
Thousand,
that's the decision we're always reconnecting back to.
yeah, 100%.
Amen. Yeah. So last question, and so this has been fucking awesome. How do you feel about your future now? I think you've already alluded to that here as far as the relationship end, but across the board, like how do you feel about your relationship with your business, for example? The
Yeah,
future
so
with your business. How do you feel about that?
yeah. So again, I am way more confident about anything I have to do and the direction I want to go. I know where this train is going, so to say.
That's right. Feel good
Um,
fucking avenue.
yeah,
Spare
exactly.
drive, fuck off.
And yeah, and I know, I know what I want. I know I can get there. I have the skills. I got the talent.
Got the will, you got the
Um,
skill.
yeah. So it's and I feel supported in going where I want to go. Also because and mostly because of the process. So yeah, I mean, I feel honestly very excited
Hmm?
about my future,
Good.
and I'm very positive about it, both like business, personal, relationships, perspective. Again, I have this is what I said already, but I have this extra confidence that comes from the fact that I know there's nothing that can happen. I mean, aside from myself dying, that would basically
Sure.
stop me from getting back to a good place, whatever happens. And so I'm much more free to do what I want in any field, so to say.
Wonderful. Just remember, Enzo, when people do the premium version, you, like everyone that does it here, remember you have those two life preserver calls you can use for life. And remember, I'm able to give those because I know you won't fucking need them as long as you keep doing the process I put in front of you every day. Okay? Remember that, okay?
Yeah,
So yeah, awesome stuff. So yeah, Enzo, thank you so much. This is super awesome. To anyone listening here, if you'd like to experience what you're really fucking capable of, you really don't have to suffer. I have a couple options for you. Listen, I don't have any problem earning your trust. I can make it very obvious you're in the right place here. You're not gonna get the same level of experience you get from this here, but I have a book on Amazon called Refocus on Power. You can start there. Remember, the book is only a fucking glimpse. The book does not talk back to you. The book should only be thought of as a bridge to something much, much better, and that is on Amazon. However, if you want to cut to the chase, have a conversation, I'll ask you, you're a serious person, you're ready to invest in yourself, you're not looking for fucking freebies or extract free information. I'll ask you, you're serious about really saying, you know what? I mean, life is not complicated. You want a Harvard life? Go to fucking Harvard the first time. I'll give you that. I'm not saying this is easy, but I'll make it very obvious you're in the right place very quickly, okay? For that, you can go to refocusonhappiness.com, or more specifically, refocusonhappiness.com/now. And let's have a conversation, okay? And so thank you so much. Really super appreciate you. And I think I'll see
very
you in a
welcome.
few weeks on the alumni call, okay?
Yes, 100%.
Thanks so much, Enzo.